Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Welcome back to the virtues of the Hijjah. So there's an interesting narration in which it's narrated from Hunayda bin Khalid from his wife that one of the wives of the Prophet ﷺ said that the Messenger ﷺ used to fast the first 9 days of the Hijjah and the day of Ashura and 3 days each month, the first Monday of the month and 2 Thursdays. So I'll say that again. It says that the Prophet ﷺ used to fast the first 9 days of the Hijjah and the day of Ashura and 3 days of the month and the first Monday of the month and 2 Thursdays. So let's break this down a little bit. So typically speaking, we think of fasting Arafah, right? We don't really think about fasting the first 8 days of the Hijjah. We think about the day of Arafah. And I'm going to get back to that in a moment. The day of Ashura is in Muharram. It obviously comes in the very next month, right? That the Prophet ﷺ used to also fast that day of Ashura, once again commemorating the victory of Musa alayhi salam over Fir'aun, over the Pharaoh. The Prophet ﷺ used to fast 3 days of each month. The 3 days are the 13th, 14th, and 15th of each month. And these are called Ayyam al-Bil, the white days. Why? Because the moon is fuller on those months, right? So in accordance with the very middle of the month, the Prophet ﷺ would fast them. And then in this narration, the first Monday of the month and 2 Thursdays. The Prophet ﷺ used to fast Mondays and Thursdays because he said that the deeds are presented to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on those days during the week. And he hoped that his deeds would be presented to Allah when he is in a state of fasting. And he also marked Monday because he was born on the day of Monday, and the Prophet ﷺ said that was an expression of gratitude for him being born on that day, his birth, that he would fast in obedience or in worship to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So in this narration, the Prophet ﷺ fasted all of these days. Then there's another narration from Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha that the Prophet ﷺ did not fast all of the first 9 days of the Hijjah. And the way that the scholars reconcile these two is that the Prophet ﷺ did not fast all of them, but certainly he fasted a lot of them, right? So it was a habit of the Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam to fast not just the 9th of the Hijjah, not just the day of Arafah, but again, if good deeds are beloved to Allah in these 10 days, then a person should take advantage of the first 8 as well, and especially when it comes to fasting. And I'd also like to point out here that one of the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that Allah allows us to combine the intentions, or that we find the reward in combining intentions for multiple voluntary good deeds. What does that refer to? So within a voluntary good deed, you could have multiple intentions that make the reward more blessed. So the Prophet ﷺ mentioned 2 reasons for fasting Mondays, for example. One of them, again, that the deeds are presented to Allah on that day. The other one, that the Prophet ﷺ was born on that day. So it was 2 intentions or 2 good things combined within the same voluntary good deed. We also find that we are able to mix intentions for multiple voluntary good deeds that fall upon a day that combines 2 blessings. So for example, let's use an example of prayer first. When you walk into the masjid, you can combine the intention for Tahiyyat al-Masjid, for the entrance upon the masjid, the 2 rak'ahs of entering the masjid, as well as, for example, the 2 rak'ahs of Fajr, sunnahs of Fajr. You could combine them with, 2 before Dhuhr. So the point is that you can combine intentions for voluntary good deeds, hence you have the reward for the 2 entering upon the masjid, as well as the 2 before Fajr. Likewise, when it comes to fasting, a person can combine the intention if, for example, within the first 9 days, you have a Monday or a Thursday, then you could fast one of those days with the intention of it being the first 10 days of the Hijjah, as well as a Monday or a Thursday, right? And as a result of that, you would amplify your own reward. And the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, that actions are but by intention. So you have the opportunity not just to get the benefit of following the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ in fasting. Musa ﷺ, as we said, was fasting these days, but the Prophet ﷺ used to fast a lot of these 8 days. So you have the intention of not just fasting one of the first 10 of the Hijjah, but you also could have the intention of fasting a Monday or a Thursday, also in accordance with the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, also in hopes that Allah sees your deeds and He's pleased with you within those days. So if you're looking for a few days to fast within these 9, and you're not going to be able to fast all of them, and there is not, a complete precedence that the Prophet ﷺ, or a solid proof that the Prophet ﷺ fasted all 9 of them, but he certainly fasted some of them, then it could be a good way for us that we choose, for example, a Monday or a Thursday, and we make those 2 days, and add another 3 or 4 days, inshallah ta'ala, before the ultimate day of Arafah, in which all of us should be fasting, bidhnillahi ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept all of our good deeds, our fasting in these 10 days. Allahumma ameen. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.